Samhain, often labeled as the most important festival in contemporary paganism, particularly in Wicca, was not passed down through unbroken pagan lineages, despite popular narratives suggesting so. Instead, its contemporary form was largely constructed in the mid 20th century. The vision of Samhain as a time of the dead, steeped in themes of liminality, death, and renewal, was synthesized by Gerald Gardner, with significant influences drawn from folklore, ceremonial magic, and early 20th century occultism. In this episode, we explore Samhain in contemporary paganism, the beliefs, magic practices, altar settings, and rituals associated with this liminal time of the year. But before we dive in, I'd like to emphasize the importance of your support in allowing free education for all on topics in esotericism based on peer reviewed scholarship. You keep this project alive by contributing through Patreon, Coffee, or YouTube memberships. For details on supporting me, visit drangelapuka.com or check the links in my bio, cards, info box, on screen, pinned comment everywhere. To ensure you never miss out on my latest content, I also encourage you to sign up for my newsletter. This way, you will always be in the loop, independent of social media algorithms. A huge thank you to everyone who makes academic esoteric literacy possible. Your contribution makes all the difference in the world. Now, let's kick off the symposium. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Angela Puca, Religious Studies PhD and University Lecturer, and this is your online resource for the academic study of magic, esotericism, paganism, shamanism, and all things occult. Gerald Gardner's creation of Wicca in the 1950s reimagined Samhain as an essential part of the Wheel of the Year, which he developed with influences from various sources. While Gardner claimed to be reviving ancient practices, much of the material he incorporated into his Wiccan framework was derived from the anthropological theories of Sir James Frazer and Margaret Murray, who romanticized Celtic and European pagan practices as being centered around fertility rites and seasonal cycles. Gardner's synthesis was also deeply influenced by earlier ceremonial magic traditions, particularly the Golden Dawn and the work of Aleister Crowley, blending high ritual magic with seasonal celebrations. One of the most significant elements Gardner contributed to the modern pagan understanding of Samhain is the concept of the thinning veil between the worlds of the living and the dead. Although this concept existed in folklore, Gardner amplified its importance within the context of Wicca, positioning Samhain as the ideal time for communicating with the spirits of the deceased and performing rituals of death and rebirth. Samhain and Liminality. The theme of liminality, that is, being at the threshold of two different realms or states, has become integral to contemporary pagan celebrations of Samhain. Victor Turner's theory of liminality, introduced in his work The Ritual Process, provides an academic framework for understanding Samhain's role in contemporary ritual practice. Turner's concept explains why Samhain is viewed as an optimal time for spiritual and magical work. During liminal times, the normal order of reality is suspended, and the boundaries between this world and the other world blur. Gardner and subsequent Wiccan writers built upon this liminality framework, asserting that Samhain's liminal nature allows for access to heightened spiritual awareness, offering a deeper connection to ancestors and the divine. One of the most significant critiques of Gardner's creation of Samhain is that it was not a straightforward reconstruction of ancient Celtic practices. While Gardner claimed to be reviving ancient pagan rites, his interpretation of Samhain was heavily influenced by Victorian and Edwardian era occult thought, particularly from figures like Fraser and Murray. Fraser's The Golden Bough famously theorized that many ancient festivals, including Samhain, were essentially rites of fertility and death. Gardner absorbed these ideas but framed them within a more complex esoteric cosmology, linking them to the cyclical nature of life, death, and spiritual regeneration. Furthermore, while Celtic Samhain was primarily a pastoral festival marking the end of the harvest and the beginning of winter, Gardner infused it with a deeper esoteric meaning, presenting it as a spiritual new year. This concept of Samhain as the witch's new year is a modern construct with little historical evidence to suggest that the ancient Celts viewed it as such. Gardner borrowed the idea from the work of 19th century academics such as Sir John Rice, who speculated that Samhain marked the Celtic New Year based on folklore rather than concrete historical sources. Gardner's construction of Samhain was also shaped by his involvement with ceremonial magic traditions. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and Aleister Crowley's work influenced the ritual structure and the symbolic significance of Wiccan rites, including those associated with Samhain. For example, Gardner's use of the Great Rite, which symbolizes the union of the female and the male energies, draws on Crowley's ritualistic sexual symbolism and is linked to themes of death and renewal. Samhain, as interpreted by Gardner, thus serves as a moment in the Wiccan calendar where the union of life and death energies is enacted, preparing the practitioner for spiritual renewal at Yule, the winter solstice. In contemporary paganism, Samhain has evolved into a festival of both personal and collective importance. For individual practitioners, it represents a time of introspection and spiritual work. The thinning of the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead offers an opportunity to connect with ancestors, seek their guidance, and honor their influence on the practitioner's life. Unlike many traditional religious practices, contemporary pagans often view ancestor veneration as an ongoing relationship, not just a one time ritual. The ritual significance of death at Samhain is not limited to the commemoration of ancestors, but is also a deeply symbolic process of personal death and rebirth. Many pagans engage in what could be termed symbolic death, a process through which they shed old habits, thoughts, and energies that no longer serve them. This idea of dying to oneself echoes not only ancient rites of passage, but also modern psychological theories of transformation, such as Carl Jung's concept of the shadow and individuation. For the broader pagan community, Samhain is also a time for communal mourning and collective transformation. Pagan groups and covens hold public rituals where participants symbolically enter the underworld, guided by deities like the Morrigan, Hecate, or Anubis, who preside over death and transformation. The communal aspect of these rituals is essential in creating a shared space for confronting mortality, experiencing renewal, and embracing the cycle of death and rebirth as a community. In contemporary paganism, Samhain is often associated with death deities from various cultural pantheons. The Morrigan, a Celtic goddess of death and battle, is frequently invoked during Samhain as a figure who oversees the cycles of destruction and creation. The Morrigan's association with war and death also resonates with modern practitioners who view her as a symbol of empowerment and transformation. Other deities commonly honored during Samhain include Hecate or Hecate, the Greek goddess of witchcraft and crossroads, and Anubis, the Egyptian god of mummification and the afterlife. The inclusion of these deities reflects the syncretic nature of modern pagan practice. Unlike traditional religious systems that are often tied to a single pantheon, contemporary paganism draws freely from multiple sources, allowing practitioners to engage with deities and archetypes that resonate with their personal spiritual journeys. The death gods invoked at Samhain are not merely figures of fear. They are seen as guides who help practitioners navigate the spiritual death necessary for growth and renewal. Contemporary Samhain celebrations. While Gardner's original construction of Samhain laid the foundation for Wiccan practices, contemporary celebrations of Samhain have diversified, drawing from a range of pagan traditions and personal practices. Some of the most common rituals include altar building, divination, and the lighting of bonfires or candles. Altars dedicated to ancestors play a central role in many pagan households, where offerings of food, drink, and symbolic items are left for the spirits. These altars serve not only as a space for ritual, but as a physical manifestation of the practitioner's connection to the past. Divination practices such as tarot, scrying, and rune casting are popular at Samhain, as the thinning veil is believed to make it easier to receive guidance from the other world. Many pagans also engage in guided meditations or trance work, using the symbolic descent into the underworld as a way to explore unresolved issues. One of the more obscure but increasingly popular rituals is the dumb supper, a silent meal held in honor of the dead. The tradition is rooted in the belief that the spirits of the deceased can join the living for one night, sharing in food and fellowship. Each place setting includes an empty plate for the deceased, and participants eat in silence, reflecting on their connection to their ancestors. The Dhamma Supper is not just a form of veneration, but also a meditative practice, allowing practitioners to engage in deep reflection on their own mortality and the continuing presence of their ancestors in their lives. Samhain is also celebrated publicly in many pagan communities, with large gatherings that often coincide with Halloween festivities. These events typically involve processions, fire festivals, and group rituals aimed at honoring the dead and celebrating the turning of the wheel of the year. In places such as Glastonbury and Salem, public Samhain festivals have become significant cultural events, attracting both pagans and non pagans alike. These gatherings highlight the way in which Samhain serves as a bridge between personal spiritual practice and broader cultural celebrations of death and renewal, altar and magic rituals. In contemporary paganism, setting up an altar for Samhain is a deeply symbolic act that reflects the spiritual and magical work undertaken during this festival. The altar becomes the focal point for the rituals performed at this time, serving as a sacred space for honoring ancestors, communing with spirits, and engaging in rites related to death, rebirth, and transformation. The way pagans arrange their Samhain altar draws upon themes of death, the afterlife, and the cycle of nature as it moves from autumn to winter. At the heart of the Samhain altar is the practice of ancestor veneration. Pagans often place photographs or personal objects that belonged to their deceased loved ones, inviting their presence on the altar and honoring their memory. These objects create a tangible link to the past, allowing the practitioner to feel connected to their family line or spiritual ancestors. The altar may also feature symbolic representations of the dead, such as skulls, bones, or other imagery associated with death, mortality, and the passage of time. Offerings also play an important role in the rituals conducted at the Samhain altar. Food and drink are often presented to the ancestors as a gift, a practice that is both respectful and symbolic of the ongoing relationship between the living and the dead. These offerings can include traditional harvest foods such as bread, apples, and wine, or they may take the form of incense, candles, and other ritual items designed to honor the spirits. Offerings are also made to deities associated with death and the underworld, such as Hecate, the Morrigan, and Anubis. These figures are invoked to guide and protect the living as they interact with the realm of the dead during Samhain rituals. Fire and light are central to Samhain, and candles are often placed on the altar to symbolize the guiding light for spirits passing through the veil. Black candles are commonly used to represent the darkness and the end of the old year, while white candles offer hope for rebirth in the new cycle. A central flame or lantern may be placed on the altar as a beacon for spirits, symbolizing both protection and the promise of light in the coming winter months. Samhain is also a time when many pagans engage in divination, and the altar often features tools such as tarot cards, runes, or scrying mirrors. These tools are believed to facilitate communication with spirits and provide insight into the coming year. Since the veil between the worlds is thought to be at its thinnest during Samhain, divination practices are considered particularly potent, offering glimpses into the future and revealing spiritual guidance that may be harder to access at other times of the year. Beyond ancestor veneration and divination, Samhain is a time for performing magic that reflects the themes of the season: death, protection, and transformation. Many pagans engage in rituals designed to release old patterns, emotions, or behaviors that no longer serve them. These type of magic, often referred to as letting go or banishing magic, is symbolically linked to the dying of the year and the need to clear space for renewal. Pagans may use rituals involving fire, where slips of paper representing what they wish to release are burned in a cauldron or a fire pit, signifying the death of the old self and the preparation for rebirth. Protection magic is another common practice at Samhain, as pagans seek to safeguard themselves from malevolent spirits that might cross the veil alongside the benevolent dead. The use of protective herbs such as rosemary and sage is a widespread practice, with these herbs being burned to cleanse the space and protect the practitioner. Protective spells and charms are also crafted and consecrated on the altar, designed to keep negative forces at bay during this time of heightened spiritual activity. The Dam Supper that we have already mentioned is also a common ritual and really embodies the liminal nature of Samhain, where the boundaries between the living and the dead are blurred, and communication is possible through subtle, non-verbal means. Samhain's role as a time of personal transformation extends beyond ancestor worship and protection, encompassing deeper spiritual work such as shadow work. Shadow work, which is rooted in Jungian psychology, involves confronting the darker, hidden aspects of the self that are often repressed or ignored. Pagans engage in this practice through meditation, ritual, or journaling, seeking to understand and integrate these shadow elements as part of their spiritual growth. Samhain is an ideal time for this type of introspection, as it aligns with the natural cycle of death and rebirth, inviting practitioners to confront the aspects of themselves that must be let go in order to move forward in the coming year. Many pagans believe that the thinning of the veil allows for easier communication not only with ancestors but also with spirit guides, deities, and other entities from the other world. This communication can take place during meditation, dreams, or through formal invocation rituals, where the spirits are called into the ritual space. Practitioners often seek guidance, protection, or knowledge from these entities, viewing them as allies in their spiritual journey. So we can say that the Samhain altar, in the context of these rituals and magic practices, serves as both a physical and symbolic space for pagans to engage with the themes of death, rebirth, and transformation. Through ancestor veneration, offerings, divination, and various forms of magic, practitioners honor the cycles of nature and the mysteries of the spirit world. Samhain as a festival marking the end of the old year and the beginning of the new provides a powerful context for reflection, renewal, and a deepening of one's spiritual practice. So, to sum it up, Samhain's creation and evolution within contemporary paganism reflect the fluid and adaptive nature of modern religious practice, while inspired by ancient folk traditions. The festival, as it is celebrated today, owes much to the esoteric frameworks laid out by Gerald Gardner and subsequent pagan leaders. Samhain's themes of death, rebirth, and spiritual transformation continue to resonate deeply with practitioners, offering a powerful lens through which to explore personal and collective renewal. This is it for today's video. If you watched until this point, leave me a pumpkin emoji. Now, my dear Symposias, this project of delivering free academic knowledge based on peer-reviewed scholarship can only exist thanks to your support. So if you have the means, please, I would encourage you to support my work with donations on PayPal, coffee, YouTube memberships, my Patreon community, which I highly recommend. All ways of supporting me are found in the info box, on screen, in bio, everywhere. So thank you for considering that. Also sign up for my newsletter to get uncensored information and updates from me. And if you like this video, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, activate the notification bell so that you will always be notified about my new videos. And please, please, please share my videos around so that the Symposium can grow. And that would mean so, so much to me. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you stay tuned for all the academic fun. Bye for now. Today we